static crackles, followed by the distant, rhythmic thud of artillery. This is Voxlog designation Gamma 77, recovered from the sublevel catacombs of Hive Primus, Sector Mortis. The recording begins now. Sound of heavy, running footsteps on metal grating. Panting breaths move. Move! For the Emperor! Get to the line. Serient, Kellen, 7th Platoon. Cadian, 185th. Reporting contact. We are engaging the enemy at the bastion of St. Drusus. The traitors are pouring in from the northern archway. They're everywhere. A nearby explosion. Shouts and screams. Get that heavy bolter set up. Now. Lay down suppressing fire on that upper gantry. Brother Corporal Jocks, get your squad to the right flank. Use the rubble for cover. We need to hold this position until the Kasserkin reinforcements arrive. There is no retreat from this place. There is only victory or death. The distinct, deafening roar of bolter fire erupts, mixed with the crackle of lasguns they're pushing hard. The filth, they think they can break the guard. They think they can defile this holy ground, and we will just let them. Every round you fire is a prayer. To the god, every traitor you strike down is a testament to your faith. Do not let that faith waver. Sound of clattering armor and a desperate melee begins. Swords clashing against chainswords. Watch your six. They're trying to flank us through the maintenance tunnels. Grenades. Throw your frags. Seal that passage. I need a Vox link to command. Now. This is Sergeant Kalen. I repeat. This is Sergeant Kalen. We are being overwhelmed. The traitors are. They have greenskins with them. Orcs. A full-blown warg is crashing against our lines. A massive, guttural roar of an orc is heard, followed by a fresh volley of heavy gunfire. Bite Terone. It's a warband of evil sons. Fast and brutal. Hold the line. Do not give them a single inch. Remember the creed. Remember Cadia. Eben in death we still serve. Focused fire on the big one. The one with the claw. Bring it down for the Imperium. For the roar of a chainsword revs to life. Getting closer. Kamadi, you green monsters. You want this bastion. You'll have to get through me first. My faith is my shield. My fury is my sword. I am a soldier of the Astra, and I know no fear. For the Emperor. For humanity. A heavy, wet impact sound, followed by a grunt of pain there. Through. The line is broken. Fall back to the cathedral square. It's our last end. Tell my family. The Emperor protects. The sounds of battle become more frantic, more desperate. Lasgun fire is sporadic, punctuated by orc war cries. Is this channel still open? This is Trooper Amon, last survivor of 7th Platoon. The sergeant. He's gone. They're all gone. I'm wounded, pinned down behind the altar of the saints. I can hear them, tearing the place apart. My lasgun has 2 shots left. One for the biggest orc I can find, and one for myself. Better to die by my own hand than be taken by these beasts. The Emperor. Forgive me. It is better to die for the Emperor than live for yourself. I see him. The war boss. He's huge. Making my shot count. For Cadia, a single lasgun shot rings out, sharp and clear, followed by an enraged orc bellow. A moment of silence. 10 a second. Muffled lasgun shot. The recording continues for several minutes, filled only with the distant sounds of slaughter, the crackling of fires, and the triumphant, barbaric roars of the greenskin horde. Then, only static remains. Static fades to silence. This recording is a testament to the countless souls who give their lives for the Imperium. The men and women of the Astra Militarum stand as the bulwark against the darkness. Their faith and fury the shield of humanity. Though they may fall, their sacrifice is never forgotten. Their story, echoed in the static of a lost Vox log, becomes another verse in the eternal choir of war. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. If you appreciate this kind of storytelling, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. Your support helps us unearth more of these lost tales. Until next time, stay vigilant and remember, the Emperor protects. In the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium, the thunder of guns is a constant prayer, and the ground trembles, not from earthquakes, but from the tread of gods forged in steel. Across 1,000,000 battlefields, the war machines of the Imperium of Man advance. A tide of iron and fire that has crushed alien empires and heretic worlds for 10,000 years. This is the pulse of the machine, the deafening heartbeat of humanity's endless war. Imagine a skyline dominated not by skyscrapers, but by the walking cathedrals of the Adeptus. These are the Titans, ancient and godlike engines of destruction. Each one is a fortress on legs, armed with weapons that can level cities in a single, earth-shattering volley. The roar of their plasma annihilators is the voice of the Emperor's wrath, and the shriek of their volcano cannons is the final sound countless enemies ever hear. Piloting a Titan is not merely operating a machine, it's a sacred bond. The princeps and their crew meld their minds with the Titan's ancient and often cantankerous machine spirit, a fusion of man and god engine that can drive lesser minds to madness. They feel the thrum of its reactor like their own heart. Its pain is their own, and its fury is a righteous inferno, marching in their colossal shadows of the steel legions of the Astra Militarum. The Imperial Guard. Here, the Lemon Russ battle tank reigns supreme. It's not the most advanced or elegant piece of technology, but it is brutally effective, astonishingly rugged, and produced in numbers so vast they can drown a world in armor. A Lemon Russ is a moving bunker, a blunt instrument of war that rumbles forward, its battle cannon barking defiance at the horrors of the galaxy. To its crew, the tank is more than just steel. It's their home, their shield, and their spear. They live, fight, and often die within its cramped, oil-scented confines, their faith placed in its thick armor and the blessings of the tech priests who maintain it. Then there are the knights, the agile counterparts to the lumbering Titans. These are piloted by a single noble, a warrior bound by oaths of fealty to their household and the Imperium. A knight suit is a masterpiece of technology, a blend of deadly grace and overwhelming firepower. They stride across the battlefield like avenging heroes of old, their chainswords singing as they cleave through monstrous aliens, and their rapid-fire battle cannons, spitting streams of explosive shells. Each knight is an heirloom, passed down through generations, its machine spirit carrying the echoes of every battle it has ever fought, a legacy of honor written in wreckage and fire. But what happens when a hero falls, but their will to serve remains unbroken? For the Space Marines, the answer is the Dreadnought. This is not just a machine. It is a walking sarcophagus, a tomb for a warrior too grievously wounded to fight on, but too stubborn to die, interred within the adamantium chassis. The fallen hero is wired into the Dreadnought's systems, their mind guiding its powerful limbs and devastating weaponry. They are echoes of the past, living relics who have seen centuries of war. Their voices are metallic rasps, their wisdom ancient, and their fury is that of a caged lion finally unleashed. When a Dreadnought awakens, its brethren fall silent in respect. For a legend walks among them once more, ready to dispense the Emperor's judgment with fists of pure power and storms of gunfire. At the heart of all this incredible technology is the Adeptus Mechanicus, the priesthood of Mars. They are the keepers of the sacred knowledge, the ones who build, maintain, and appease these machines. To them, technology is not a science to be understood, but a divine mystery to be revered. They believe every machine, from the simplest Lasgon to the mightiest Emperor-class Titan, possesses a machine, spirita, consciousness, a soul. They anoint the gears with sacred oils, chant binary hymns to soothe an agitated engine, and perform complex rituals to awaken a dormant war engine. They see the roar of a tank's engine not as combustion, but as a hymn of obedience to the Omnissiah, the machine god. This belief is the lifeblood of the Imperium's armies. Without the tech priests and their faith, The engines would fall silent, the guns would rust, and the Imperium would be swallowed by the darkness. These machines are more than just tools of war. They are symbols. A titan, standing resolute against a tide of horrors, is a symbol of humanity's defiance. A lemon rus pushing through a storm of enemy fire is a testament to the indomitable spirit of the common soldier. A dreadnought striding into the fray is a promise that even in death, service does not end. Each engine hums with a purpose. Each piston stroke is a beat in the rhythm of war. And each shot fired is a note in the symphony of the Imperium's survival. They are the steel shell that protects humanity from a hostile galaxy. The roaring, thundering pulse of a machine that will never stop, never yield, and never, ever know peace. For in the 41st Millennium, there is only war. Thank you so much for joining me on this dive into the heart of the Imperium's war machine. If you enjoyed this journey into the lore, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us bring more of the 41st Millennium to you. Let me know in the comments which Imperial war machine is your favorite, and we'll see you in the next one. Welcome, everyone, to our deep dive into the 41st Millennium. Today, we're listening to the sounds of the battlefield, but not to the familiar clash of steel or the roar of bolts. We're tuning into something far more profound, something that defines humanity in the grim darkness of the far future. The screams of the faithful. Picture the scene, a muddy, crater-pocked battlefield somewhere on the fringes of the Imperium. The air is thick with the stench of cordite and ozone. Lus beams, bright and deadly, crisscross the smoky haze. Artillery shells whistle overhead, each one a harbinger of oblivion, their impacts shaking the very ground you stand on. This is the daily reality for the the Imperial Guard. These are ordinary men and women, drawn from countless worlds, armed with little more than a flak jacket, a lasgon, and a prayer book. They are the thin line holding back the horrors of the galaxy, and what horrors they face. Towering alien monstrosities, their claws dripping with ichor, charged across Noma's heretical warbands, twisted by forbidden powers, advance under banners that mock every tenet of the Imperial creed. In the face of such overwhelming terror, what can a simple soldier do? A normal person would break. They would run, scream in terror, or simply freeze, paralyzed by fear. But these are not just normal people. They are the guardsmen of the Imperium of Man, and their greatest weapon is not the rifle in their hands. It is the faith in their hearts. Listen closely. Amidst the cacophony of war, another sound begins to rise. It starts as a low murmur, a desperate whisper from 1,000 parched throats. Tenet, it swells into a chant, a litany, a roaring declaration that drowns out the thunder of the guns. It's the sound of names. For the Emperor, for Terra, av Imperator. These are not cries of despair. They are war cries of absolute, unshakable devotion. They are the screams of the faithful. This is the core of the Imperial creed, the state religion that binds the trillion-strong population of humanity together. From the moment a child is born, they are taught one simple, overarching truth. The Emperor of mankind is their God, their protector, their savior. He is the master of mankind, the undying sovereign who sits upon the golden throne of Terra, his psychic might a beacon of hope in a hostile galaxy. This isn't just a belief. It is the fundamental law of reality for every loyal citizen. To question it is heresy. To deny it is to invite damnation. For a guardsman, this faith is everything. It is the shield that deflects the arrow of fear. It is the fuel that drives their tired legs forward into the meat grinder when the commissar blows his whistle and gives the order to charge. They don't see the fortified enemy position bristling with heavy weapons. They don't see the statistical certainty of their own demise. They see a chance for martyrdom. They see an opportunity to give their lives in service to the one being who holds the fate of all humanity in his hands. Imagine a young trooper from a backwater agri-world. He's probably never seen a city taller than a grain silo. His universe was one of dirt, crops, and simple prayers. Now, he's here, facing down a creature that defies sanity. Something torn from the pages of a madman's nightmare. His lasgan feels like a toy. His armor feels like paper. All he has left is the litany he learned as a child. The Emperor protects repeats it, over and over. His voice joins the chorus around him. The fear doesn't vanish. Not entirely. It's still there. A cold knot in his stomach. But the faith is stronger. It is a fire that burns away the doubt, cauterizes the terror, and forges his soul into a weapon. This is the grim, beautiful, and terrifying nature of human sacrifice in the 41st millennium. The Imperium's greatest resource is not its vast armadas or its advanced technology, much of which is poorly understood. Its greatest resource is manpower. Billions upon billions of souls, ready and willing to be spent like currency to buy one more day for the Imperium. A general does not measure casualties and lives lost, but in the yards gained or the objective secured. The life of an individual guardsman is meaningless, but the collective sacrifice of 1,000,000 guardsmen can turn the tide of a galactic war, and the soldiers themselves accept this. They embrace it. The priests of the Ministorum, who march alongside them into battle, preach that a life given in the Emperor's name is the most glorious end imaginable. To die for the Emperor is not just a duty. It is an honor, a promise of salvation. In their final moments, as their lifeblood stains the alien soil, they do not curse their fate. They thank the Emperor for the opportunity to serve. Their final breath is often a prayer, a last defiant shout of his name. This collective shout is more than just a morale booster. In the warp-touched reality of Warhammer 40,000, faith has tangible power. The combined belief of 1,000,000 charging guardsmen can create a palpable aura of defiance. It can make demons flinch. It can cause psychers to recoil. It is a psychic roar of humanity's will to survive, channeled through the singular focus of their devotion to the Emperor. Their faith becomes a weapon as real as any chainsword or power fist. It is the Emperor's light, a spiritual bulwark against the darkness. Think of the sheer psychological impact on their enemies. An alien warlord, accustomed to seeing lesser races break and flee, witnesses waves of humans charging directly into the guns of his super-heavy tanks. They are cut down in droves, but they never stop. For every one that falls, 2 more take his place, their voices rising in that same unnerving chant. It is an act of collective fanaticism that is both terrifying and incomprehensible to many of the Imperium's foes. How do you defeat an enemy who doesn't fear death, but welcomes it as a glorious final act? The screams of the faithful are the soundtrack to the Imperium's survival. They are the testament to the fact that even in an age of unimaginable technological warfare, the most powerful force in the galaxy is the indomitable spirit of humanity. It's a spirit that has been hammered and forged on the anvil of faith, beaten into a shape that is both heroic and monstrous. It's the belief that their sacrifice, no matter how small, contributes to the Emperor's grand design. Their death is not an end, but a transaction, purchasing one more second for the golden age that is to come. So next time you read a story about the Imperial Guard, or see them depicted on the tabletop, listen past the gunfire. Listen for the chorus of voices, the litanies of hate, the prayers of protection. Listen for the screams of the faithful, for that is the true sound of the Astra Millennium. It is the sound of humanity's defiance, a billion-throated roar against the dying of the light, all in the name of the God Emperor of mankind. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of the Imperial Creed. The sheer scale of faith in war. Varroka is one of its most compelling aspects. What are your favorite examples of faith on the battlefield? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel for more lore from the 41st Millennium. Your support helps us continue to delve into this incredible universe. Until next time, may the Emperor protect. Welcome, Bikler Masters and Warhammer enthusiasts, to our deep dive into the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. In our last chapter, we explored the cacophony of chaos. Today, we turn our ears to the vast and terrifying expanse of the galaxy, to listen to the myriad voices of the Xenos. From the guttural roars of the orcs, to the psychic screams of the Eldar and the chittering hunger of the Tyranids. The sounds of these alien races are as diverse as they are horrifying. Each cry tells a story of survival, conquest, and ancient sorrow. So, steel your nerves and prepare your senses, for we are about to tune into the screech of the Xenos. Let's begin with the most boisterous, and arguably the most widespread alien threat in the galaxy, the orcs. The sound of an orc horde is unmistakable, deafening, thunderous roar that shakes the very ground. It's the sound of pure, unadulterated warlust, a joyous, violent symphony that the orcs call the Wog. This isn't just noise. It's a psychic phenomenon. The collective belief and aggression of billions of orcs coalesce into a psychic field that bends reality itself. Wacha can make their ramshackle vehicles run faster, their crude guns fire with greater force, and their own green boaties tougher. Imagine standing on a fortress wall, the horizon turning green with a tide of greens. The first thing you'd hear is the clanking of their scrap metal armor, or the rumble of their trucks. It's the sound. It starts as a low chant, Wog, Wacha, 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 growing in volume and intensity until it becomes a single, soul-shattering bellow. It's a sound that promises violence, not as a means to an end, but as the end itself. It's the sound of a species that finds pure, unbridled joy in combat. Within this cacophony, you can pick out individual noises. The guttural war cries of a knob urging his boys forward, the maniacal laughter of a grot firing a ridiculously oversized cannon, and the metallic, clanking roar of a mighty death dread charging into the fray. The orc language, a crude and direct collection of grunts and shouts, is perfectly suited for the battlefield. Commands are barked, threats are bellowed, and victory is celebrated with a roar that can be heard across systems. To hear the Wog is to hear the heart of the orc race beating in time with the drums of war. It is a primal, terrifying, and strangely exhilarating sound, the purest expression of a species born for battle. Now, let us shift from the raucous roar of the orcs to a far more chilling and alien sound, Scaputha, silence punctuated by the shrieks of the Tyranid hive mind. The approach of a Tyranid swarm is often preceded by an eerie quiet. This isn't a natural silence. It's a smothering, psychic void known as the shadow in the warp. It cuts off all astropathic communication, isolating a world and filling its inhabitants with annoying, primal dread. It is the sound of absolute loneliness, the feeling of being cut off from the rest of the galaxy, knowing that something monstrous is coming for you and no one can hear you scream. When the swarm finally descends, the silence is shattered, but the sounds are not those of a conventional army. The Tyranids communicate telepathically, their every action guided by the singular will of the hive mind. The noises they make are biological, instinctual, and utterly terrifying. You hear the wet, tearing sound of ripper swarms devouring biome, the skittering of countless chitinous legs, and the sickening squelch of bioacid melting through armor and flesh. Above it all, you hear the shrieks, the piercing cry of a lictor as it ambushes its prey from the shadows, the booming, psychic roar of a hive tyrant, a command that echoes not in the air, but directly in your mind, overriding your own thoughts with pure terror. The most infamous is the death scream of a zoanthrope, as it unleashes a blast of raw warp energy, a sound that can literally boil your brain inside your skull. These aren't war cries. They are the sounds of a biological process. The Tyranid swarm is a predator, and its sounds are those of a hunt, of consumption, of digestion on a planetary scale. It is the sound of the galaxy being eaten alive, a chorus of chittering, hissing, and shrieking that signifies the end of all things. From the biological horror of the Tyranids, we turn to a sound filled with sorrow, grace, and immense psychic power, the wail of the Eldar. To call the Eldar an ancient race is an understatement. They are the remnants of a once great galactic empire that fell to its own hubris, birthing the chaos god Slaanesh in a psychic cataclysm that tore their civilization apart. The sounds of the Eldar, or the Eldari as they call themselves, are forever tinged with this tragedy. Their language is fluid and melodic, sounding more like poetry or song than simple speech. But listen closely, and you will hear an undercurrent of profound sadness in every syllable. On the battlefield, the Eldar are a whirlwind of deadly elegance, and their sounds reflect this. You hear the hum of anti-gravity engines as their sleek grav tanks and jet bikes glide across the terrain. You hear the sharp, crystalline crack of a shuriken catapult firing razor-sharp discs that slice through armor with terrifying efficiency. But the most defining sounds of an Eldar army are psychic. The war cry of a howling banshee is a prime example. Their specialized helmets amplify their voices into a psychosonic scream that attacks the central nervous system of their foes, paralyzing them with fear and agony before the banshees even strike. It's a wail of fury and grief combined. Then there are the Farsers and Warlocks, the psychic leaders of the Eldar. When they channel the power of the warp, you don't just hear it, you feel it. It's a chorus of ghostly whispers, a crescendo of psychic energy that can foretell the future, shatter enemy minds, or weave illusions. The sound of an Eldar army is the sound of a ghost fighting a war. It is beautiful, ethereal, and heartbreakingly deadly. A lament for a lost golden age sung with blades and psychic fury. Each cry is a reminder of what they've lost, and the desperate, hopeless fight to preserve what little remains. Beyond these major players, the galaxy is filled with countless other Xenos species, each with its own unique and terrifying voice. Consider the Tau Empire. Their sounds are those of advanced, unified warfare. The sharp asterisk, VWH, OOM, asterisk of a pulse rifle firing, a sound that promises a clean, efficient, and utterly impersonal death. The calm, collected voice of a Shaso, a Tau commander, issuing orders through a sophisticated Coombs network. A stark contrast to the bellowing of an Orc warbot. Their battles are punctuated by the mechanical worry of crisis battlesuits and the thunderous impact of railgun slugs, hitting their targets from miles away. The sound of the Tau is the sound of progress, of a young, ambitious empire, relentlessly expanding for what they call the greater good. A chillingly sterile and orderly sound in a galaxy, defined by chaos. Then there are the Necrons, an even more ancient and terrifying presence. For millions of years, they slept in their tomb worlds, and their reawakening is heralded by an unnerving silence. The sound of a Necron army is the sound of the grave. Given mechanical form, there are no war cries, no shouts, no screams of pain. There is only the relentless, rhythmic tramp of metallic feet, the cold, emotionless hum of Gauss weaponry that strips its targets apart atom by atom, and the eerie green glow of reanimation protocols knitting destroyed Necron warriors back together. It's an unnatural, soulless soundscape. The only voices you might hear are the insane digital cackles of a flayed one, draped in the skin of its victims, or the imperious, metallic pronouncements of a Necron overlord, a voice devoid of any warmth or life. The sound of the Necrons is the sound of inevitability, of a death that cannot be bargained with. A cold, silent march towards the extinction of all life. The screech of the Xenos is the true soundtrack of the 41st Millennium. It's a symphony of terror, a galaxy-spanning chorus of species locked in a desperate, unending war for survival. Each voice, from the joyful roar of the Orc to the hungry chittering of the Tyrant, the sorrowful wail of the Eldar, the sterile efficiency of the Tau, and the silent dread of the Necrons, tells a part of the story. They're the sounds of alien cultures, alien biologies, and alien philosophies clashing in a brutal struggle for dominance. These are not simply the noises of battle, they are the expressions of entire species. Their hopes, their fears, their rage, and their hunger given voice. And for the countless soldiers of the Imperium of Man, they are the last sounds they will ever hear. Thank you for joining us on this auditory journey through the alien threats of Warhammer 40,000. The galaxy is vast and full of terrors, and we've only just scratched the surface. What Xenos sound do you find the most terrifying? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. Until next time, stay safe, and may the Emperor protect. Start of narration in the grim darkness of the far future. There is only war. This isn't just a saying. It's the fundamental truth of the 41st Millennium. Today, we're diving deep into the symphony of that conflict. The brutal, visceral ballet of steel and flesh that defines the Imperium of Man. Forget grand strategy for a moment. Forget the sweeping galactic maps. We're going down to the mud, to to the blood-soaked ground where the fate of worlds is decided, one savage blow at a time. This is the story of the Space Marine in his element, the crucible of close-quarters combat. Imagine the scene. The air is thick with the metallic temps of discharged energy, the choking dust of shattered ferrocrete, and something else, ... Something primal. It's the scent of fear, but not from the warriors clad in ceramite. They are the Adeptus Astartes, angels of death, and they bring the storm with them. Before the lines even meet, the air rips apart. This is the sound of the bolt gun, the signature weapon of the Space Marine. It's not the simple crack of a conventional firearm. No, this is a two-stage roar. First, the initial charge fires the projectile 75 caliber, self-propelled, mass-reactive bolt. It's essentially a miniature rocket. Then, as it nears its target, its internal charge detonates, turning soft tissue and bone into a crimson spray. Listen. Can you hear it? It's a staccato thunder, a percussive beat in the orchestra of war. Each asterisk, kerchunk, voom, boom asterisk, is a life extinguished. A heretic's chest explodes outward. A Xenos creature's head vaporizes in a shower of ichor. A traitor's charge is halted mid-stride as a crater opens in his power armor. The bolt gun is an instrument of overwhelming, uncompromising force. It doesn't just kill, it annihilates. It is a statement of the Imperium's philosophy. There is no enemy that cannot be purged, number heresy, that cannot be erased with sufficient, explosive righteousness. The ground becomes littered with the gruesome aftermath, a testament to the bolter's brutal efficiency. But the bolt gun is just the opening act. The real music begins when the lines crash together. The enemy, whether a tide of chittering tyranids, a green wave of orcs, or the corrupted ranks of chaos, surges forward. The Space Marines meet them, not with a retreat, but with a roar of their own. And in their hands, they ignite the icons of close combat. Its sound is unmistakable, a high-pitched, guttural snarl as diamond-hard teeth spin at incredible speeds. It's the sound of a predator about to feast. This isn't a tool for elegant dueling. It's an engine of butchery. It doesn't cut. It rips, tears, and grinds. Picture a sergeant, his helmet's lenses glowing red, revving his chains. The sound alone is a weapon, striking fear into the hearts of lesser beings. He plunges into the fray. The blade bites into the crude armor of an orc boy. Sparks fly. Metal shrieks in protest, but the adamantium teeth are relentless. They chew through the plate, then through the dense green muscle and bone beneath. The sound changes from a metallic grind to a wet, sickening chewing noise. It's a harmony of steel and blood, a brutal chord in the Imperium's symphony. The warrior doesn't stop. He pivots, the chainsword a blur of motion, bisecting another foe at the waist before bringing it around in a devastating arc that cleaves through a charging This is the reality of the front lines. It's a maelstrom of violence, where every second is a life or death struggle. The air is filled with the battle cries of the Astartes, deep and resonant through their helmet vox grills. Prayers to the Emperor mixed with tactical call-outs and vows of vengeance. They move with a grace that belies their massive size, a fluid economy of motion honed by centuries of training and hypnoconditioning. A lunge, a parry with a shoulder pauldron, a crushing stomp of a ceramite boot, and always the chainsword sings its hungry song. But the chainsword is not the only instrument in this close-quarters orchestra. Here, that deep, energetic, followed by a sizzling crackle as it connects. That's the power sword. Wreathed in a disruptive energy field, it can shear through the densest armor as if it were parchment. It parts molecules, severing limbs and heads with an eerie, clean hum that ends in a cauterizing hiss. A captain wields one, a master swordsman carving a path through elite enemy troops. Each swing is precise, deadly. The blade passes through a traitor marine's helmet, the energy field causing the ceramite to flash and collapse before the superheated blade does its work. Then there's the thunderhammer. Its impact is not a sound you hear with your ears alone. You feel it in your chest. A Terminator, Marine swings the massive mallet. Its power field activates just before impact, releasing a thunderous blast of energy. K-W-H-O-M. Asterisk. The sound is like a thunderclap and an explosion combined. It strikes a hulking chaos obliterator, and the result is catastrophic. Armor implodes. The very structure of the target is shattered, reduced to a heap of twisted metal and mangled flesh. The shockwave alone can pulp the organs of those standing too close. It is the ultimate expression of brute force, a final, deafening crescendo. Let's not forget the lightning claws. Imagined the tearing sound of the chains would, but multiplied, faster, and wielded in pairs. An assault marine descends from the sky on his jump pack, claws crackling with blue energy. He lands in the midst of the enemy, a whirlwind of death. The sound is a constant, high-pitched asterisk, shredding asterisk, like 1,000 scalpels tearing through canvas as he eviscerates everything around him. He is a manifestation of the Emperor's fury, a living storm of blades and righteous anger. This is the soundscape of a Warhammer 40,000 battle. It's an orchestra of brutality, the deep percussion of bolter fire, the roaring tenor of the chainsword, the clean, humming alto of the power sword, and the deafening bass of the thunderhammer. It is a symphony where every note is an act of violence, every crescendo a moment of utter destruction. This isn't just chaos, it's a grim and terrible harmony. It is the music of the Imperium, a brutal anthem composed of steel, fire, and blood, played on the anvil of war for 10,000 years. And for the enemies of mankind, it is the last thing they will ever hear. For the Space Marine, this is more than just combat. It is ritual. It is duty. It is the fulfillment of their sacred purpose. Each round fired, each swing of the blade is an act of faith. They are the Emperor's chosen, and through them, his will is made manifest. In the roar of the chainsword, they hear a hymn. In the explosion of a bolter round, they find absolution. They are surrounded by the cacophony of death, yet they move with a serene purpose. Their resolve is unyielding as the adamantium of their armor. They are the steel, and their enemies are the flesh. And in the endless war of the 41st Millennium, steel will always prevail. This is the promise and the terror of the Imperium. Thank you for joining me on this descent into the heart of battle. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Grimdarkness, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. In the 41st Millennium, war is eternal. We often speak of the heroes, the villains, the countless trillions of soldiers who live and die for the Emperor or their dark gods. We chronicle their sagas, their triumphs, and their tragedies. But what of the machines they pilot? What of the steel behemoths that carry them into the maw of battle? Today, we delve into a less-told story, the lament of armor. Across the million worlds of the Imperium, the roar of vengeance is the ceaseless hymn of war. From the steadfast lemon rust battle tank to the towering knights and godlike titans, these are not mere vehicles. They are relics, sanctified constructs, each with a history as long and storied as any noble house. Forged in the great manufactorums of the Adeptus Mechanicus, every rivet is blessed, every plate inscribed with prayers to the Omnissiah. They are born not of assembly lines, but of ancient rituals. When a tank crew first takes command of their vehicle, a bond is formed. It's more than just a soldier and his weapon. It's a relationship built on trust and shared experience. They learn its quirks, the specific growl of its engine, the way it shudders under the recoil of its main cannon. They give it names: Emperor's Fury, Iron Vengeance, or Reliable. They paint kill markings on its hull, each one a memory of a victory shared, a trial overcome. The machine spirit, that enigmatic consciousness the tech priests speak of, seems to respond in kind. It becomes a part of the crew, a silent, armored brother in arms. Imagine, then, the moment of its demise. A lemon ross, a bulwark that has held the line against hordes of orcs and legions of heretics, is finally breached. A plasma blast, white-hot and furious, punches through its adamantium hide. For a moment, there is a stunned silence. Then, the symphony of destruction begins. The air is torn apart by the shriek of superheated metal, a sound like a dying beast. Internal systems overload in a cascade of failures, each one a small death. Ammunition cooks off, a catastrophic chain reaction that rips the tank apart from the inside out. The proud turret is thrown into the air, spinning like a discarded toy. The hull, once a symbol of Imperial might, becomes a raging inferno. A funeral pyre for the crew trapped within and for the machine spirit that served them so faithfully. On the battlefield, this is not a silent event. The explosion is a deafening roar that echoes across the blasted landscape, a punctuation mark in the grammar of war. For those who witness it, especially those who fought alongside it, it is a visceral blow. They see not just a tank destroyed, but a comrade fallen. They hear not just an explosion, but a scream. It's a reminder of their own fragility, a testament to the fact that even the strongest steel can be broken. The wreck, a blackened, twisted husk, remains on the battlefield as a grim monument, a gravestone of scorched metal that warns all who pass of the battle's terrible cost. Now, let us turn our gaze to something even more profound, even more tragic. The fall of a dreadnought. A dreadnought is not merely a machine. It is a sarcophagus, an iron womb that carries the broken body of a legendary space marine hero. A warrior so grievously wounded that he can no longer fight on his own, yet whose will to serve is so unyielding that he chooses an eternity of war over the peace of death. He is interred within the adamantium shell, his neural pathways fused with the machine systems. He sees through its optical sensors, feels the ground tremble through its piston-driven legs, and speaks through its voximeter. The dreadnought is him, and he is the dreadnought. For centuries, even millennia, these ancients, as they are known, stand as living monuments to their chapter's glory. They are repositories of wisdom, veterans of 1,000 campaigns. Younger battle brothers look to them with awe, their booming war cries a source of unshakable courage. They are the personification of duty and sacrifice, the living embodiment of the phrase, even in death, I still serve. So, when a dreadnought falls, it is an event of almost mythological significance. Picture it, an ironclad dreadnought, a walking fortress, weathering a storm of fire that would obliterate lesser machines. It advances relentlessly, its seismic hammer crushing enemies, its hurricane bolter spitting righteous fury. But the enemy is unending. A melta-bomb is planted on its leg joint. A lance of dark energy strikes its sarcophagus. The mighty walker stumbles, its movements becoming slow, then erratic. The final moments are a terrible agony. The hero within, his mind a fusion of flesh and circuitry, feels the machine dying around him. He feels the catastrophic damage, not as a pilot would, but as if his own limbs were being torn from his body. Life support systems flicker and fail. The voximeter crackles. His final words a garbled stream of defiance. Alas per year. Or perhaps a warning to his brothers. Other space marines will risk everything, charging through a hail of enemy fire, to try and save the ancient, to protect the sarcophagus. But sometimes, it is not enough. The final explosion that silences a dreadnought is not just the death of a war machine. It is the final death of a hero who died his first death centuries ago. It is the extinguishing of a light that has burned for ages. The wreckage is not merely salvaged, it is recovered with the reverence of a holy relic. The chapter mourns not the loss of a valuable asset, but the loss of a founding father. A keeper of their history. His name will be etched into the highest honor rolls, his story told to inspire generations to come. The destruction of his iron body is a lament that resonates through the very soul of the chapter. Ebente, tech priests of Mars, who often seem detached and clinical, Feltislos. To them, the destruction of a holy machine is a form of blasphemy. They hear the shriek of rending metal not as a physical phenomenon, but as the cry of a tortured spirit. They see the burning wreck, and they do not just see broken machinery. They see a desecrated icon. They will perform rites of appeasement over the battlefield, chanting litanies to soothe the machine spirits of the fallen, praying that their dead ghosts might find peace in the embrace of the omniscient. In their binary cant, they mourn the loss of irreplaceable knowledge, of ancient and sacred technology that can never be replicated. In the grim darkness of the far future, There are few moments of true silence. The galaxy is filled with the cacophony of war, but within that noise, if you listen closely, you can hear another sound. It is the groan of stressed metal, the final, explosive sigh of a dying engine, the electronic scream of a machine spirit being torn apart. It is the lament of armor. It is the sorrow of the very tools of war. A tragic chorus that underscores the endless, brutal reality of the 41st Millennium. For even the machines, it seems, can mourn. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of battle. The stories of Warhammer are vast, and every element, from the greatest hero to the humblest bolt gun, has a tale to tell. If you found this exploration of the Imperium's armored grief compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the lore. Let us know in the comments which machine's story resonates most with you. Until next time, stay vigilant, and may the Emperor protect. Slightly reverberating, deep voice. As if speaking in a grand cathedral, have you ever wondered what the enemies of the Imperium hear in their final moments? It's not just the roar of bolter fire, or the scream of chainswords. It is something far more ancient, far more terrifying. It is the sound of faith made manifest, a hymn of righteous fury that shakes the very foundations of reality. It is the war chant of the Adeptus. For a space marine, battle is not merely a duty. It is the highest form of worship. Every step is a prayer, every shot, a sacrament. As they advance, a low, guttural chant begins to emanate from their voices. It's a sound that starts in the chest, a deep, resonant hum that synchronizes hundreds, sometimes thousands, of transhuman warriors into a single, unstoppable instrument of the Emperor's will. This isn't just noise to intimidate the foe, though it certainly does that. This is a battle liturgy, a sacred rite passed down through millennia. Each chapter has its own unique hymns and catechisms of war. The Blood Angels might chant litanies of Sanguinius, their voices filled with a sorrowful fury. The Imperial fists might recite the canticles of siege, their tones as unyielding as the fortresses they defend. The Ultramarines, ever the paragons, could be chanting passages from the Codex Astartes itself, their voices a testament to discipline and order. Imagine the scene. Imagine a scene, not just from the weight of their ceramite-clad feet, but from the sheer sonic power of their combined voices. The air grows thick with ozone and the smell of promethium, but woven through it all is this monastic, yet profoundly violent, chorus. To their enemies, it is a terrifying, incomprehensible drone that signals their impending doom. It speaks of a conviction so absolute, so unwavering, that it borders on the supernatural. How can you fight something that sees its own death in your service as the ultimate glory? This practice is deeply rooted in the culture of the Astartes. From the moment they are chosen as aspirants, they are indoctrinated. They spend countless hours in the chapters, overseen by the chaplains, the spiritual leaders who are the keepers of these sacred rites. They learn histories, the triumphs, the tragedies of their brothers. They memorize every line, every verse of the hymns that their predecessors sang on 1,000 different worlds. The chant serves multiple purposes. On a practical level, it is a tool of battlefield communication. The rhythm and cadence can signal tactical maneuvers advance, hold, charge all without breaking the litany. It keeps the squad, the company, the entire chapter in perfect lockstep. It focuses their minds, sharpening their already superhuman senses, filtering out the chaos of war and leaving only the clarity of purpose. It becomes a meditative mantra, allowing the Marine to enter a state of heightened consciousness, a battle trance where instinct and training merge into a seamless flow of deadly grace. But the spiritual significance is far more profound. In the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium, faith is armor. The galaxy is teeming with horrors that can break the mind and corrupt the soul. Demons, Xenos, See, the insidious whispers of KSDs are threats that cannot be defeated by bolter and blade alone. The war chant is a ward, a shield of pure belief. By chanting praises to the Emperor and their Primarch, the Astartes reaffirm their loyalty, their purity, their utter rejection of the heresy that surrounds them. They are literally shouting down the darkness, their collective voice a beacon of Imperial faith in a godless universe. Think of their chaplains, their skull helms, a stark memento mori, their Crozius Arcanum held high. They are the conductors of this brutal orchestra. Their voices, amplified by their own powerful vox units, lead the chorus. They are the ones who call out the verses, their zealous fury igniting the spirits of their brothers. They walk among the ranks, their presence a physical embodiment of the chapter's soul, ensuring that the fire of faith burns its brightest in the heart of the battle. So when a Space Marine charges, he is not just a soldier. He is a crusader, a warrior monk, on a holy mission. His bolter is not just a weapon. It is an instrument of judgment. His armor is not just protection. It is a sacred relic. And the sound that precedes him, this thunderous, ritualistic chant, is the ultimate expression of the Adeptus. It is the sound of 10,000 years of war, 10,000 years of sacrifice, 10,000 years of unshakable, terrifying faith. It is the anthem of the angels of death, and for those who stand against the Imperium, it is the last thing they will ever hear. The next time you see a depiction of the Astartes marching to war, listen closely. Listen for that undercurrent of sound, that deep, resonant hum. Because in that sound, you will find the very essence of what it means to be a Space Marine in the 41st Millennium. It's more than war. It's worship. Thank you so much for joining me on this dive into the lore of Warhammer 40K. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Astartes' faith and battle, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the grim darkness of the far future. Let me know in the comments which chapter as war chants you most like to hear about next. For the Emperor, have you ever wondered what the end of a world sounds like? It's not silence. It's a symphony, a terrible, beautiful, all-consuming symphony of annihilation. Today, we witness the crescendo of the Imperium's wrath, a concert performed with instruments of total war. This is the Symphony of Fire, where every note is an explosion, and every rest is the brief, terrifying silence before the next cataclysmic impact. From Toboid, the first movement begins. High above the condemned world, the colossal ships of the Imperial Navy shift into position. Their hulls, kilometers long, are studded with macro cannons and lance batteries, each a cathedral of destruction. Inside the command bridge, a naval officer, his face illuminated by the holographic display of the planet below, gives the order. It's a quiet word, a simple gesture, but it unleashes hell. Down on the planet, the sky begins to tear open. These aren't just bombs. They are meteors of pure, righteous fury. Gigantic shells, glowing with incandescent heat, scream through the atmosphere. They are the heralds of doom, their trajectory a fiery promise of oblivion. The very air shrieks as they descend, a prelude to the planet-shaking chorus to come. When they hit, it's not just an explosion. It's a geological event. The ground heaves, and mountains are born and die in the same instant. Shockwaves, visible as shimmering walls of force, flatten entire continents of enemy fortifications. A single orbital strike can boil an ocean or turn a fortified city into a molten crater miles wide. This isn't warfare. This is celestial judgment. As the orbital bombardment recalibrates, targeting the next wave of strategic locations, the second movement of our symphony begins on the surface. The ground itself starts to sing the song of the Imperial Guard. This is the domain of the artillery, the masters of long-range destruction. Hear that deep, guttural roar that vibrates in your very bones. That's the sound of a basilisk earthshaker cannon. From dozens, even hundreds of kilometers away, crews of hardened guardsmen work in perfect, brutal harmony. Load, aim, fire. A deafening crack echoes across the blasted plains, and a shell the size of a man is sent soaring on a high, graceful arc. For the soldiers on the receiving end, it's a unique form of terror. It starts with a faint, high-pitched whistle, a sound that grows steadily louder, closer, until it becomes an all-consuming scream. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The shell arrives, and with it, a thunderclap that ruptures eardrums and shatters resolve. The ground erupts in a fountain of fire, earth, and shrapnel. Entire platoons are erased from existence, their armor and bodies tossed aside like children's toys. And this isn't just one gun, it's hundreds, thousands. A relentless, rolling barrage that chews up the landscape, turning trenches into graves and bunkers into tombs. Now, a new instrument joins the orchestra. It's a sharper, more piercing sound, a high-energy hiss that cuts through the din. That is the song of the Lascanon. Whether mounted on a lemon rust tank, a sentinel walker, or wielded by a devastator marine, the Lascanon is the scalpel to the artillery's hammer. It doesn't explode. It vaporizes. A brilliant, crimson beam of pure energy lances across the battlefield, so fast it's almost impossible to track. One moment, an enemy's super-heavy tank is rumbling forward, its guns belching defiance. The next, a hole glowing with molten metal is punched clean through its adamantium hull. The tank's ammunition cooks off in a secondary explosion, a brilliant, violent flower of destruction blooming on the battlefield. The Lascanon is precision fury, the Emperor's own light turned into a weapon, seeking out and annihilating the enemy's most valuable assets with contemptuous ease. Imagine the scene now. The sky is a canvas of fire, streaked with the plasma contrails of descending orbital strikes. The horizon is a continuous, flickering strobe of distant artillery impacts. Closer, the air is split by the staccato hiss of lost beams crisscrossing the battlefield. The ground trembles without pause, a constant, low-frequency tremor that rattles your teeth and shakes the very foundations of the world. This is the symphony at its peak. The macro cannons from orbit provide the deep, resonant bass notes. The Earthshaker cannons are the thundering percussion, setting the relentless rhythm of destruction, and the Lascanons are the piercing lead instruments, their searing solos cutting through the chaos. This isn't random noise. This is a calculated, terrifyingly coordinated performance. Voxmasters and command strategos conduct this orchestra of ruin with cold, ruthless precision. An orbital strike clears a path. A rolling barrage suppresses the survivors, and Lascanon teams pick off the hardened targets that remain. Each element complements the other, weaving together into a single, overwhelming tapestry of Imperial might. The air smells of ozone, cordite, and vaporized metal. The noise is a physical force, a wall of sound so intense it feels like you're underwater. For those loyal to the Imperium, this cacophony is a hymn. It is the sound of mankind's manifest destiny, the righteous anger of the Emperor made manifest. Each explosion is a prayer, each destroyed enemy a testament to their faith. They stand firm amidst the quaking earth, their armor blackened by soot, their faces grim but resolute. They are the instruments of the Emperor's will, and this is the music of their age. But for the enemies of man, this is the soundtrack to their apocalypse. It is a symphony that shatters not just their fortifications, but their sanity. Every beat, every note, is another step towards their complete and utter annihilation. The planet itself seems to be crying out in agony, its surface cracking and bleeding magma under the relentless punishment. Continents shift, Seas, boil away, and the very atmosphere is burned away by the fury unleashed upon it. There is no escape, only a final, deafening crescendo that will silence all opposition forever. This is the power of the Imperium, not just a military force, but a force of nature, an engine of conquest so vast and powerful that it can orchestrate the death of a world from 1,000 different points. All at one. The orbital strikes, the artillery thunder, the Lascanon's fury. They're all just different verses of the same terribilis song, a songo, fire fury, and the absolute, unquestionable dominance of humanity among the stars. The Symphony of Fire is the ultimate expression of Imperial doctrine. If a world will not bend to the Emperor's light, it will be broken by his wrath. The performance only ends when nothing is left but dust, ashes, and the ringing silence that follows the final cataclysmic note. cataclysmic. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of 40K's destructive power. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Symphony of Fire, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more Warhammer cinematic lore. Let me know in the comments what Imperial weapon system you find most terrifying. Until next time, stay safe, and may the Emperor protect. In the grand theater of the 41st Millennium, the thunder of bolt guns and the roar of chain swords are the anthems we know by heart. We see the glorious charges, the heroic last stands, the monumental clashes of titans and gods. But beneath this cacophony of war, beneath the crashing symphony of destruction, there is another sound. It is a quieter sound, often lost in the fury, but it is the true, enduring music of the galaxy. It is the sound of the screams beneath. Listen. Can you hear it? It's not the defiant war cry of a space marine. It's the muffled gasp of a guardsman from Krieg, his rebreather filling with his own blood. His last thought, not of the Emperor, but of a son he never saw. It's the whimper of a Cadian child, orphaned in the shadow of a falling Blackstone fortress, clutching a scorched Lasgon power pack that was once her father's. It's the choked prayer of a naval raiding, adrift in the void, watching the lights of his ship die, one by one. The cold of space a more patient killer than any Xenos beast. These are the screams that history will not record. The High Lords of Terra will not hear them. The grand strategists, moving fleets like game pieces across a star chart, will not pause for them. Why would they? These are the sounds of acceptable losses, the decimal points in a grand calculation of galactic survival. 1 billion lives for a single world, 1 trillion for a sector. The numbers lose their meaning. They become abstract, sterile. But for each number, there was a voice that laughed, that sang, that loved, that screamed. Think of the Medicae tents, miles behind the front lines. Here, the chorus rises. The air is thick with the smell of scorched flesh, antiseptic, and despair. An Adeptus sororitas, her armor rent and broken, lies silently as a chirurgeon works on what remains of her leg. Her faith is a shield, they say, but it could not deflect the shrapnel. She does not scream. Her pain is a prayer, a testament, but in her eyes, you see the flicker of a question she dares not ask the god. Nearby, a Vastrian firstborn, his magnificent uniform stained and torn, whispers the name of his family matriarch. His mind 1,000 light-years away on a frozen world, even as his body gives out on a jungle death world. These moments are the Grimdark's truest heart. It's not just about the overwhelming odds or the cosmic horrors. It's about the individual, the single human soul caught in the gears of a machine so vast and uncaring that their existence is a statistical improbability. Every soldier of the Astra Militarum, every ship hand, every hive worker pressed into a planetary defense, force, they all have a story. A story that likely ends, not in a blaze of glory, but in a muddy trench, a collapsed hablock, or the sterile quiet of a field hospital. Their screams are for lost friends, for shattered futures, for the simple, terrifying realization that their sacrifice will be forgotten. It's the sound of a young man from a feudal world who dreamed only of seeing the sky ocean of his planet one more time. Now bleeding out on the cold steel deck of a void ship, his sky now an eternity of black. It's the desperate sob of a tech priest, her mind breaking as she witnesses a logic-defying horror from the warp, her faith in the machine's spirit shattered into 1,000,000 terrified data fragments. And what of those left behind? On countless worlds, mothers, fathers, and children wait for news that will never come. Their grief is a different kind of scream, a silent, unending one that echoes in the empty spaces of their homes. They light candles before icons of the Emperor, praying for a hero's return, unaware that their hero's name is already a forgotten footnote in a conflict report, as dog tags lost in the mud of a world he couldn't even pronounce. This is the tax of the Imperium, paid in tears and quiet desperation, a universe away from the front. The tragedy of Warhammer 40,000 isn't just that humanity is beset by aliens and demons. The tragedy is what humanity has become in order to survive. It is a regime that sees its own people as ammunition, as fuel for the fire. The screams from below are the price of the Emperor's hollow victory, the price of holding back the night. They are the sounds of the nails being hammered into the coffin of hope. one soul at a time. So the next time you see a grand depiction of a battle, with banners flying high and heroes standing tall, take a moment and listen closer. Push past the roar of the engines and the crack of the guns. Listen for the whisper, the gasp, the sob. Listen for the screams beneath, because that is the true, unending song of the 41st Millennium. It is the sound of humanity crying out in the dark, and for the most part, going unanswered. Thank you for joining me in this reflection. The lore of this universe is vast and often tragic, and exploring these quieter corners is what makes it so compelling. If you found this meaningful, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more deep dives into the grim darkness of the far future. Let me know in the comments what aspects of the Imperium's human costs resonate most with you. The battle is over. The roar of bolters has faded, the screams have died down, and the smoke has begun to clear. Now, a different kind of sound rises from the ruins, a sound that is perhaps more unsettling than the conflict itself. It's the chant of the servitors. Look closer at the figures moving through the wreckage. They are the silent, tireless workforce of the Imperium. The half-human, half-machine constructs of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Once, they might have been people heretics, criminals, or simply citizens who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, their minds are wiped, their bodies augmented with crude machinery, their free will replaced by lines of cogitator code. Their purpose in this desolation is grimly practical. They are the cleanup crew of the 41st Millennium. With hydraulic claws and worry saws, they sift through the debris. They are processing the fallen, separating valuable scrap from the mangled remains of man and Xenos alike. Every piece of armor, every spent shell casing, every functional bionic kit, all has a use. In the resource-starved Imperium, nothing is truly wasted. As they work, a low, monotonous hum echoes from their vocalizers. It's not a song of sorrow or triumph. It is a hymn to the Omnissiah, the machine god. Each note is a binary canticle, a prayer programmed into their very being. 01,000,111. 01,101,100. 01,101,111. 01,110,000. 01,111,101. To the machine god, the words are hollow, devoid of emotion, yet they fill the silence with a chilling devotion. It's a testament to the absolute faith of the Mechanicus of faith that sees the divine in gears and circuitry, and salvation in the cold logic of the machine. These servitors are a perfect symbol of the grimdark reality of Warhammer 40,000, represent the ultimate sacrifice of humanity for the sake of efficiency. Their existence is a constant reminder that in the eyes of the Imperium, and especially the Adeptus Mechanicus, the individual is insignificant. Only the function matters. A soldier's duty ends in death. A servitor's duty is eternal. Imagine the psychological toll on any surviving guardsmen or space marines who witness this scene. They see their fallen comrades, heroes who gave their lives for the Emperor, being dismantled by these unfeeling automatons. Is this the honor they were promised? To be rendered down into their component parts, their flesh discarded, their gear recycled for the next wave of soldiers. It's a harsh truth of this universe. The war machine must be fed, and it feeds on everything. The servitors don't care. They don't feel. They simply obey. Their programming dictates their every action. They are the hands of the tech priests, extending their will across the battlefield long after the fighting is stopped. Each servitor is a walking, humming embodiment of Mechanicus doctrine. Emotion is a flaw. Flesh is weak, and the machine is eternal. Their chant is the war continuing by other means, war of reclamation, of resource management, of cold, hard logic, asserting its dominance over the chaos of battle. We often focus on the epic clashes of titans and the heroism of marines, but this is the reality that follows. This is the unglamorous, methodical, and deeply disturbing process that keeps the Imperium's armies supplied. The servitor's work ensures that the tools of war can be reforged, repaired, and sent back to the front lines. The bodies they process might have belonged to heroes, but their war gear will serve the Emperor once more. And so, The chant goes on, a continuous looping hymn of binary praise for the great machine. It's the soundtrack to the aftermath, the lullaby of a galaxy that knows no peace. While the generals plan their next campaign and the scribes tally the cost, the servitors work on, their voices a constant, humming reminder that even in silence, the war is never truly over. The machine endures, and its servants are tireless. This scene, this chant of the servitors, is the quiet horror that underpins the loud spectacle of Warhammer 40K. It's not about glorious charges or desperate last stands. It's about the cold, industrial process of continuing a conflict that has consumed the galaxy for 10,000 years. It's the sound of humanity being ground down, piece by piece, to fuel an endless war, all to the tune of a machine's hollow prayer. Thank you so much for joining me on this dive into the grim darkness of the far future. If you found this exploration of the Adeptus Mechanicus and their unsettling practices interesting, please hit that like button. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. We hear this creed repeated, a mantra for an age of unending conflict. We see the flash of lost fire. Hear the roar of chainswords, and feel the ground tremble as titans walk. But what happens when the cacophony ceases? What happens in the silence between battles? This is a quiet that is heavier than any bombardment. It is a stillness that suffocates, thick with the ghosts of fallen comrades and vanquished foes. Stand with me for a moment on the shattered plains of a world whose name is already being forgotten, erased from Imperial star charts. The guns have fallen silent. The vox channels are clear, save for the whisper of the wind as it snakes through the skeletal remains of hablocks and blasted manufactorums. Look around. The air is thick with the scent of ozone, burnt promethium, and something else. Something metallic and sorrowful. The ground is a carpet of brass casings and discarded power packs. A broken Aquila, the symbol of the Imperium, lies half buried in the mud, its golden wings tarnished by blood and ash. This isn't a victory parade. This is the aftermath. For the soldiers of the Imperium, be they guardsmen or the mighty space marines, this silence is not peace. It is a reprieve, a fleeting moment to reload, to tend to wounds, to count the costs. A Cadian trooper might lean against the ruin of a wall, his hands trembling not from fear, but from the adrenaline crash. He checks his lasgan, not out of protocol, but as a ritual, a connection to the only thing that has kept him alive. His gaze drifts over the field, seeing not just debris, but the places where friends made their last stand. He doesn't speak their names aloud. The wind carries them for him. Even for a space marine, an angel of death, this moment has weight. He stands motionless, a statue of ceramite and resolve amidst the carnage. His helmet's autosenses filter the air, but they cannot filter the memories. He recalls the face of the brother who fell at his side, the roar of the orc warboss he just vanquished, the tactical data scrolling across his vision, a cold, hard ledger of loss and gain. In this silence, he is not just a weapon. He is a sentinel, a guardian of memory. Each scar on his power armor tells a story, and in this quiet, those stories scream louder than any battle cry. The silence is a crucible, forging his resolve for the next inevitable fight. This quiet is a lie. It's a breath held before the plunge. Because in the 41st Millennium, the war never truly ends. The silence is just the echo of the last battle, and the overture to the next. The enemy is regrouping. Reinforcements are inbound. A new battlefront is being drawn on a map light years away. For the inhabitants of this galaxy, peace is a forgotten word, a relic of a bygone age. This stillness is merely a pause in a symphony of destruction. Think of the ruins themselves. They were once homes, places of work, cathedrals of faith. Now, they are just cover. Tactical assets. A shattered window that once held a family's gaze now serves as a sniper's nest. A grand plaza where children played is now a killing field, pockmarked by artillery. The silence is filled with the unheard cries of the civilians who called this place home, their lives. A footnote. in the grand, bloody history of the Imperium. Their memory is a ghost that haunts the very stones. This is the true nature of the Grimdark. It's not just the glorious charges and the heroic last stands. It's the crushing weight of the aftermath. It's the knowledge that every victory is temporary, purchased with a currency of lives that can never be recovered. The silence is a canvas, and upon it, the memory of war paints its most enduring and terrible masterpiece. It reminds every soul, from the lowest conscript to the highest chapter master, that their struggle is eternal, and the only reward for their duty is the duty itself. So the next time you witness the fury of a Warhammer 40,000 battle, listen for what comes after. Listen to the silence. It's there you'll find the true soul of the setting. It is the echo of those who fought and fell, a somber testament to the fact that in an age of endless war, even a moment of quiet is a battlefield of its own where the living wrestle with the ghosts of the dead. Thank you for joining me in this moment of reflection. The lore of this universe is vast and deep, full of sound, fury, and these profound moments of quiet. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of the 41st Millennium, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more explorations of Warhammer lore. Let us know in the comments, what do you think about when the guns fall silent? Until next time, may the Emperor protect. In the desolate expanse of a galaxy torn by unending war, where hope is a currency more precious and scarcer than any metal, there exists a force that binds humanity together with threads of steel and fire. It is not an army, though it commands legions. It is not a government, though its dictates are law. It is the Adeptus Ministorum, the Ecclesiarchy, the singular, monolithic church of the God Emperor of mankind. Today, we listen to its pulse, a rhythm that beats in the heart of every true servant of the Imperium. Imagine a world reduced to rubble, skies choked with the black smoke of promethium and the dust of shattered cities. The air, a toxic cocktail of ozone and decay, carries the faint, metallic temps of blood. This is the aftermath of war, a common sight across the million worlds of the Imperium. Where is the solace? Where is the comfort for the survivors who wander these blasted landscapes? Their homes gone, their families lost. Terre is nonne, there is only duty. And from the ruins, a sound begins to rise. It starts as a low hum, a vibration felt in the bones before it is heard by the ear. It is the sound of faith, not the gentle, reassuring faith of a benevolent God, but the roaring, unyielding faith of a wrathful one. Ecclesiarchal choirs, their voices honed by years of devotion and discipline, begin their song. It is not a lament for the dead. It is a war cry for the living. It is a declaration that even in annihilation, the Emperor protects. The music swells, a grand and terrible symphony. It is the sound of immense pipe organs, salvaged and sanctified, their notes thundering across the plains of destruction. It is the clang of colossal bells, their tolling a rhythmic heartbeat that orders the chaos. Each peal is a command. Rebuild. Each verse is a reminder. Obey. This is the pulse of faith, a relentless tempo that drives the grief from the hearts of the faithful, replacing it with fervent, unquestioning purpose. Look closer at the figures moving through the wreckage. They are not architects or engineers in the traditional sense. They are pilgrims, zealots, and penitents, clad in sackcloth and bearing the sigils of the Imperial creed. They hold girders from collapsed hablocks and clear rubble with their bare, bleeding hands. Their faces are grim, etched with hardship, but their eyes burn with a holy light. They do not work from a blueprint of hope, dreaming of a brighter future. They work from a catechism of obedience. Delictitio Divinitas is their guide, its verses their only comfort. Their movements are synchronized to the tolling of the bells and the soaring chants of the choir. It is a macabre ballet of reconstruction. A priest, his vestments stained with ash, stands atop a pile of shattered ferrocrete, his voice amplified by a vox-holler. He doesn't offer words of consolation. He roars passages of scripture, condemning the alien, the mutant, the heretic. He reminds the flock that their suffering is a crucible, a test of their devotion. To falter is heresy. To grieve is to doubt the Emperor is a divine plan. And so, their song drowns out the whispers of despair. It smothers the cries of the wounded and the silent screams of memory. Grief is a weakness the enemy can exploit. Sorrow is a crack in the armor of faith through which demonic influence can seep. The ecclesiarchy understands this better than anyone. Their role is not to heal the wounds of the soul, but to cauterize them with the hot iron of dogma. The endless cycle of destruction and reconstruction is not a tragedy. It is a sacrament. Each fallen world is a testament to sacrifice, and each rebuilt shrine is a monument to the indomitable will of humanity. Think of the sheer scale of this operation. Across the galaxy, on countless worlds ravaged by orcs, devoured by tyrannids, or corrupted by the forces of chaos. This same scene plays out. The agents of the Ministorum are often the first to arrive after the Imperial Guard has moved on. They bring with them not food or medicine in great quantities, but relics, icons, and preachers. They know that the body can endure what the spirit cannot, and the spirit of the Imperium must never, ever break. The process of rebuilding is itself an act of worship. New cathedrals rise from the foundations of the old, their spires clawing at the polluted sky like fingers reaching for a distant, silent god. These are not merely buildings, they are fortresses of faith, designed to intimidate and inspire. Gargoyles carved in the likeness of saints glare down from the buttresses, their stone eyes promising vigilance and retribution. Stained glass windows, painstakingly crafted, depict scenes not of peace, but of glorious, bloody martyrdom. The Emperor, enthroned and eternal, watches over all, his gaze a mixture of cold judgment and solemn promise. Within these rising walls, the faithful toil. Children too young to wield a lasgon are taught to mix mortars and chant hymns. The elderly, too frail for the front lines, meticulously clean, salvaged relics, their gnarled fingers tracing the holy aquila. Every action, no matter how small, is imbued with spiritual significance. To lay a brick is to defy the archenemy. To raise a wall is to strengthen the bulwark of the Imperium. This is how the ecclesiarchy sustains the endless cycle. It transforms the mundane into the sacred, the labor into liturgy. This is the Grimdark reality of the Imperial faith. It is a religion born of necessity in a galaxy that knows only war. It offers no easy answers, no gentle redemption. Instead, it offers purpose. It offers a place in the grand, brutal tapestry of human survival. For the billions who live and die under its shadow, it is everything. It is the reason they endure, the reason they fight, and the reason they rebuild, time and time again, upon the ashes of their own history. Their song is the pulse of the Imperium, a rhythm of obedience that will echo through the ruins until the very end of time. This pulse of faith is not just a metaphor, it's a tangible force. Confessors and missionaries wield the faith of the masses, like a weapon, turning righteous fury into a palpable energy that can sear the souls of heretics and bolster the courage of righteous warriors. Miracles, or what are proclaimed as such, are not uncommon. Statues of saints sweeping tears of blood, wounds closing on the battlefield, the sudden rout of a seemingly invincible foe. All are attributed to the Emperor. Isidibin intervention channeled through the unwavering belief of his followers. The ecclesiarchy ensures these stories are spread far and wide, fanning the flames of zealotry. They become legends, sermons, and cautionary tales that reinforce the central message. Your faith is your shield and your sword. Doubt is death. Consider the life of a single citizen in this system. Born into a world where the sky is perpetually gray, you are taught the Imperial creed before you can speak your own name. Your lullabies are hymns of battle. Your playgrounds are the shadows of towering cathedrals. Your education is a litany of saints, martyrs, and the endless list of the Emperor's enemies. You are told that your life is a single, expendable resource in a war that has raged for 10,000 years, and you accept it. You accept it because the alternative is to be alone in a universe filled with monsters. The Church gives you a tribe, a family of billions bound by a shared, sacred duty. It gives your suffering meaning. The architecture of the ecclesiarchy is a physical manifestation of this philosophy. Every imperial shrine, from the smallest roadside chapel to the grandest basilica, is built to convey power, permanence, and intimidation. They are designed to make the individual feel small, insignificant, and humbled before the majesty of the God Emperor and the institution that speaks in his name. The sheer weight of stone and adamantium is a statement. We are eternal. We were here before you, and we will be here long after you are dust. This is not a faith that invites personal interpretation. It is a faith that commands submission. And through it all, the bells toll. Their sound is inescapable, a constant reminder of the rhythm of life and death in the Imperium. They ring for morning prayer, for midday sermons, for evening vet. They ring to announce a holy day, to call the faithful to war, and to mourn the passing of a hero. For those who live within their sound, the tolling of the bells is as natural as their own heartbeat. It is a soundtrack to their existence, a metronome that keeps them in step with the will of the ecclesiarchy and the grand, terrible purpose of the Imperium. It is the pulse of faith, unwavering and absolute, echoing across a galaxy of ruin and war. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of the Imperium's faith. The world of Warhammer 40,000 is a vast and fascinating place, and the ecclesiarchy is one of its most powerful and compelling pillars. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more lore and cinematic stories from the 41st Millennium. Don't forget to ring that notification bell. Not an ecclesiarchal one, thankfully, so you don't miss our next chapter. Let us know in the comments what aspect of the Imperium you'd like to see us explore next. Until then, stay vigilant, and may the Emperor protect. Hello and welcome, loyal citizens of the Imperium and chroniclers of the 41st Millennium. Today, we journey into the very heart of the Imperium's war machine, not to the front lines of glorious battle, but to the ceaseless, grinding engine that fuels it. We're talking about the rhythm of rebirth, the grim and unending cycle that defines humanity's struggle for survival. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. We hear this creed echoed across the galaxy, a stark reminder of the Imperium's reality. But what happens after the smoke clears, after the last bolter shell has fallen and the heroes of the hour have been immortalized in stone? The answer is as simple as it is terrifying. The sound begins again. Picture a world recently ravaged by conflict. Its cities are rubble, its fields are ash. The casualty reports are astronomical, numbers so vast they lose all meaning. For any other civilization, this would be a death blow, a wound from which it might never recover. But for the Imperium of Man, this is just another Tuesday. Before the last embers have cooled, the Administratum's cogs are already turning. Tide grades are recalculated, planetary governors receive new quotas, and the great recruitment drives begin. From the towering spires of hive cities to the feudal plains of agri-worlds, the call goes out. It's a whisper on the Vox, a decree nailed to a public square, a promise of purpose in a galaxy that offers none. Young men and women, barely past childhood, are pulled from their lives. They line up in their millions, their faces a mixture of fear, hope, and indoctrinated fervor. They are the new blood, the replacement for the millions who just perished. They are handed a lasgon, a flak jacket, and a number. Their names, their pasts, their dreams. Those are luxuries the Imperium cannot afford. They emerge in endless columns. They march onto colossal transport ships. Their boots strike the ferrocrete deck plates in a steady, hypnotic rhythm a beat that has echoed through the ages. It is the first note in the symphony of war. This is the rhythm of the Astra Militarum, the hammer of the Emperor. Each step is a promise of sacrifice, each new face a testament to the Imperium's unyielding will. They are marching to replace the fallen, to hold the line their predecessors could not, to die on some forgotten world their parents had never even heard of. And as they march, they're not just replacing soldiers. They are renewing a promise made 10,000 years ago. While these new recruits are being processed, another part of the great machine roars to life. In the forged cities of Mars and the countless manufactorums across the galaxy, the weapons of war are deep within these soot-choked cathedrals of industry. The tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus chant their binary prayers. They are surrounded by the carcasses of War Machine's lemon rust battle tanks, with their hulls breached, Valkyries with their wings sheared off, Titans laid low like fallen gods. These are not discarded. Nothing is ever truly wasted in the Imperium. With ritualistic precision, Magaus and Enginseers oversee the salvage operations. Armor plates are hammered back into shape, their purity seals replaced. Damaged cogitators are appeased with sacred oils and rites of percussion. The spirits of the machines, angered by their defeat, are soothed with incense and litanies. It is a process that is part religious ceremony, part industrial nightmare. Molten metal reclaimed from shattered hulls is poured into ancient molds. The hiss of cooling adamantium is a prayer to the omniscient. Lasguns are recalibrated by the thousand, their power packs recharged with energy drawn from geothermal vents. Bolter shells are filled with explosive cores, each one consecrated for its holy purpose of delivering the Emperor's judgment. This isn't just manufacturing, it's a resurrection. The very steel that failed on one battlefield is given a new chance at vengeance on another. The weapons are reforged, stronger and more numerous than before. The rhythm quickens. And then, the sound truly builds. The deep, guttural roar of vengeance returning to life. A Lemonrus demolisher, its hull patched and its cannon newly blessed, belches black smoke as its power plant ignites. The high-pitched whine of a Valkyrie's turbines fills the air, a promise of swift deployment and even swifter death from above. On a night world, a Quester Mechanicus climbs into the cockpit of their repaired steed, the neural links sparking as pilot and machine become one once more. Their ion shield hums, and the earth trembles as the towering war machine takes its first step. These are not just engines, they are the voices of the Imperium's fury. Each roar is a defiance against the darkness. It's a declaration that for every tank lost, 10 more will take its place. For every aircraft shot down, a squadron will be scrambled. The sound is deafening, a symphony of industrial might and holy purpose. It is the sound of readiness, the sound of a power that can absorb catastrophic losses and only grow stronger, angrier. It's the engine of endless war, roaring to life once more. And what of the most elite? The Space Marines, the Angels of Death. When a brother of a chapter falls, it is a grievous blow. These are warriors, 1,000 times more valuable than any guardsman. But Ebenera, the cycle continues. The Fallen's gene seed, the very essence of their being, is painstakingly recovered by the chapter's apothecaries. It is a sacred duty, performed even under the heaviest fire. This genetic material is brought back to the Fortress Monastery, where it will be implanted into a new aspirant, a young boy who has proven his worth through trials that would kill a normal man. The fallen warrior's armor is recovered, repaired, and passed down. His bolter, his chainsword day will be wielded by another. In this way, the hero never truly dies. His legacy, his strength, his duty is all passed on. The chapter endures, a new space marine, bearing the gene seed and the war gear of a fallen hero, will take his place in the line of battle. The number of brothers remains constant. The watch continues, unbroken. The cycle of rebirth, even for the demigods of war, is absolute. So, let's bring it all together. The new recruits march, the weapons are reforged, the engines roar. Can you hear it? It's a rhythm, a pulse, that beats at the heart of the galaxy. It's the sound of boots on steel, the clang of hammers in the forge, the thrum of engines, the chanting of priests, and the snap hiss of a lasgun being issued for the first time. The same notes and the same rhythm, repeated for an eternity. This is the true nature of the Imperium's strength. It is not found in the might of a single hero or the power of a single fleet. It is found in this relentless, soul-crushing, and yet awe-inspiring ability to regenerate, to absorb any blow, no matter how devastating, and to continue the fight. It is a system built on the fundamental truth that individual lives are meaningless. Only the survival of humanity matters, and that survival is purchased with a currency of trillions of lives, spent without a second thought. This cycle is the grimdark reality of Warhammer 40,000. It is not glorious. It is not heroic in the traditional sense. It is a horrifying, beautiful, and hypnotic machine of perpetual war. A grand, Gothic symphony where the notes are lives, and the conductor is a silent, golden emperor on a throne of ages. The sound begins again, and again, and again, forever. Because in the 41st Millennium, the war never, ever ends. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the heart of the Imperium. If you enjoyed this exploration of the lore, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Let me know in the comments what aspect of the Imperium's unending war you find most fascinating. Until next time, may the Emperor protect. From the deepest ink-black voids of space, a song of purpose hums across the cosmos. This is the sound of the Imperium of Man, a symphony played by fleets numbered in the tens of thousands. Each vessel, a cathedral of war, a fortress city drifting through the endless night. From the nimble Cobra-class destroyer, a rapier in the dark, to the behemoth, Emperor-class battleship, a mountain of adamantium and faith. They are the shield and the sword of humanity. For 10,000 years, they have held the line against the encroaching darkness, their crews living and dying by the glow of flickering lumen globes and the hum of ancient plasma reactors. Their mission is absolute, to carry the Emperor's light to the farthest stars, to reclaim what was lost, and to purge the alien, the heretic, and the mutant. This is the saga of the Imperial Navy, the steel spine of mankind's dominion over the galaxy. Imagine standing on the observation deck of one of these leviathans. Below you, the ship stretches for kilometers. A landscape of gun turrets, launch bays, and Gothic spires that pierce the void. Around you, the fleet Materia Caesar, celestial armada, against a backdrop of distant, indifferent nebulae. The bridge is a hive of activity, a cavern of brass, polished wood and holographic displays. The air crackles with the clipped, precise language of naval officers. Course laden, Lord Captain. All hands, brace for warp transition. The sheer scale is staggering. Millions of souls, from the lowest ratings swabbing the decks to the august strategists in the command sanctum, all bound by a common, unyielding duty. They are the descendants of a legacy forged in the fires of the Great Crusade, their traditions as old and unbending as the plasteel holes that protect them. But their true journey is not across the familiar dimensions of space and time. To traverse the gulfs between stars, they must plunge into a realm that defies sanity. A dimension of pure, raw emotion and thought. They must enter the immaterium, the sea of souls, the warp. And it is here, in this roiling, psychic tempest, that the true test of faith and fortitude begins. The preparations are a ritual in themselves. Massive, armored shutters slam down over every viewport. The navigators, those strange, three-eyed mutants, who alone can perceive the tides of the warp, retire to their sanctums. The ship's Skeller field generator spools up, its thrumming a prayer of technological warding against the horrors that lie outside. It creates a fragile bubble of reality around the ship, a sliver of normalcy in an ocean of madness. For a moment there is a profound silence, a held breath across the entire vessel. Then, with a lurch that feels like the universe itself is tearing, they are gone. Instantly, reality is the familiar laws of physics are nothing more than a distant memory. Outside the Geller field, the warp is a kaleidoscope of impossible colors, a storm of raw psychic energy where nightmares take form. Whispers begin to bleed through the hull, not with sound, but directly into the minds of the crew. They are the psychic echoes of a billion souls, the chorus of rage, despair, and unspeakable desire that gives the warp its power. The ship groans, not from physical stress, but as if in agony. The metal seems to weep, and shadows in the corridors writhe as if they have a life of their own. For the crew, this is a crucible. They cling to their faith, chanting litanies to the Goddam Emperor. Their voice is a fragile shield against the encroaching madness. Every stray thought, every flicker of doubt, can become a beacon for the predators that swim in these psychic tides. These are the entities of the warp, the demons. They are concepts given form, malice made manifest. They press against the Geller field, their ethereal claws searching for the slightest crack, the smallest weakness in the ship's psychic defenses. They whisper promises of power, of knowledge, of release from the harsh reality of the 41st Millennium. They show the crew visions loved ones, long dead, worlds consumed by fire, their own deepest fears realized. The ship's astropaths, the telepaths who serve as the Imperium's communicators, suffer the most. Their minds are open gateways, and they must constantly battle to keep the demonic chorus from overwhelming them. Many go mad, their screams echoing in the silent, sealed chambers where they perform their vital duties. The line between reality and hallucination blurs. A crewman might see a trusted comrade's face melt into a hideous, leering mask, or hear the laughter of thirsting gods in the static of a vox communicator. The journey can last for weeks, months, even years in subjective time. Time itself loses meaning in the warp. A ship might enter the Imperium for what its crew experiences as a few days, only to emerge into real space centuries after it left. Or worse, it might emerge before it even departed, a paradox that shatters minds and rewrites history. These temporal anomalies are just one of the warp's many dangers. Sometimes, the Geller field flickers. For a nanosecond, the raw stuff of chaos floods a section of the ship. In that instant, men can be transformed into gibbering monstrosities. Metal can warp into flesh, and the geometry of a corridor can twist into an impossible, maddening spiral. The ship's commissars are ever vigilant, their bolt pistols a grim solution for any crew member who succumbs to the warp's corrupting influence. Mercy is a luxury the Imperium cannot afford. Survival in the warp is dependent on the navigator, sealed within their stasis tank. Their third eye gazes upon the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon of the Emperor himself, burning bright from holy Terra. This light is their compass, their one fixed point in the churning chaos. They guide the ship along the treacherous currents, seeking stable routes while avoiding psychic maelstroms and the hunting grounds of demonic fleets. The navigator's task is a terrible burden. To look upon the warp with an unshielded eye is to invite insanity, yet this is their life's work. They see the true form of the demons, they hear the undiluted screaming of the damned, and they bear this weight so that humanity might continue to exist. Their song is one of immense, silent suffering, a melody of sacrifice woven into the larger symphony of the fleet. And what of the ship itself? It is more than just a machine. Over millennia of service, each vessel develops a spirit, a soul, the machine spirit, as the Adeptus Mechanicus calls it, in the warp. This spirit is tested. It fights alongside the crew, its ancient systems straining to maintain the Geller field, its core programming a bulwark against the chaotic energies trying to corrupt its functions. The tech priests move through the engine rooms like high priests in a temple, anointing pistons with sacred oils, chanting binary prayers to soothe the agitated machine. They believe that to appease the machine spirit is to ensure safe passage. To them, a failing Geller field is not a mechanical fault, but a sign of the machine spirit's displeasure, or a weakening of its faith. Their rituals are as vital to survival as the navigator's guidance. Finally, after an eternity of torment, the transition back to real space begins. The ship shudders violently, a process even more jarring than the entry. There is a deafening roar that is felt more than heard, a sensation of being turned inside out. Then, silence. The armored shutters retract, revealing the familiar, comforting sight of stars against a black velvet curtain. The air, once thick with psychic pressure, clears. A collective sigh of relief washes over the crew. They have survived, they have returned, but they are not unchanged. Every journey through the warp leaves a scar, a faint residue of the madness they endured. The crew's eyes hold a haunted look, a memory of the horrors that lurk just beyond the veil. The ship itself bears new scars, not just on its hull, but on its very soul. This is the price of empire. This is the cost of holding 1,000,000 worlds together across a hostile galaxy. For every world saved, for every battle won, 1,000 journeys like this are made. The fleets of the Imperial Navy are the lifeblood of the Imperium, and the warp is the treacherous artery through which they must flow. Their song is not just the hum of plasma drives and the roar of cannon fire. It is a melody woven with threads of madness, a grimdark hymn of duty, sacrifice, and unrelenting faith against an ocean of chaos. It is a song of the void, and it is the sound of humanity's desperate, eternal war for survival. Thank you for joining us on this voyage into the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. If you enjoyed this dive into the lore, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next transmission from the void. Let us know in the comments what part of the Imperial Navius story you want to explore next. Until then, the Emperor protects. In the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium, there is only war. We have journeyed through ages of strife, witnessed empires rise and fall like embers in a gale, and followed heroes whose legends are etched in blood and sacrifice. We've seen the shining promise of the Emperor's great crusade, and watched it curdle into the bitter ashes of the Horus heresy. We have stood with the countless trillions of the Astra Militarum, a human shield against the horrors of the galaxy. We have knelt in the vaulted cathedrals of the Ecclesiarchy, our prayers drowned out by the roar of bolter fire. We have delved into the forbidden lore of chaos, where gods of madness promise power at the cost of one's soul. We have faced the silent, soulless advance of the Necrons, an echo of a war fought 60 million years before mankind even looked to the stars. We have fled from the ravenous, all-consuming hunger of the Tyranid hive fleets, a biological plague that seeks to strip every world of life. But what is the point of these stories? What is the final chapter in this endless saga of conflict? Is there a conclusion? A final victory for the forces of light? Or a final, despairing scream as darkness consumes all? The truth is far more bleak and far more profound. In the 41st Millennium, there is no end. There is no final page to turn. The story doesn't conclude, because the war is eternal. It is the fundamental, unchanging state of the galaxy. Peace is a forgotten myth. Victory is a fleeting moment before the next battle begins. This is not a tale of how a war is won, but a chronicle of how it is endlessly fought. Think of it not as a narrative with a beginning, middle, and end, but as a symphony, a deafening, chaotic, and terrifyingly beautiful symphony of survival. And at the end of all things, when all the heroes have fallen and all the empires have crumbled to dust, what remains? Only the sound. The sound of war eternal. Let's listen closely to that sound. It begins as a low hum, the thrum of a million billion souls praying to a silent god upon his golden throne. It's the sound of faith, a desperate, defiant belief that humanity will endure another day. This is the bedrock of the Imperium, the quiet prayer whispered in the hablocks of a billion worlds. The solemn chant of a tech priest communing with a machine spirit, the resolute vow of an inquisitor to purge the unclean. It is the sound of hope, however faint, a tiny candle flickering in an infinite, cosmic storm. Then, that hum is joined by another sound, a rising crescendo of fury. It's the battle cry of a space marine charging into the breach, his genetically engineered fury unleashed upon the enemies of man. It's the enraged roar of a Khorne berserker, lost to the ecstasy of slaughter. It is the indignant shriek of an Eldari warrior, fighting to protect the last vestiges of their dying race from a galaxy that has already consumed them. This is the sound of passion, of hatred, of vengeance, and of righteous anger. It is the sound of beings who refuse to go quietly into the night, who will fight with every fiber of their being, not for a future of peace, but for the simple, brutal satisfaction of destroying their enemies. Faith provides the reason to fight, but fury provides the strength. And then comes the final, overwhelming element of our symphony. Fire. The cacophony of explosions, the incandescent blast of a plasma cannon, the scream of a lasgun beam cutting through the air, the roar of a starship's engines igniting a world's atmosphere. It's the sound of technology and sorcery unleashed on a galactic scale. The fire is the physical manifestation of the faith and the fury. It is the tool with which the eternal war is waged. From the humble chainsword to the world-shattering exterminatus, fire is the ultimate arbiter of the 41st Millennium. It is destruction incarnate, the cleansing flame and the consuming inferno. It is the sound of empires being forged and planets being broken. So, listen. Listen past the dialogue, past the heroic speeches, and the villainous monologues. Can you hear it? The prayer, the war cry, and the explosion. Faith, fury, and fire. This is the trinity that defines the 41st Millennium. It's a cycle. Faith inspires fury. Fury unleashes fire. The fire creates new martyrs and new enemies, which in turn strengthens faith. And so the cycle continues, forever and ever, across 1,000,000 battlefields. There is no grand finale, no ultimate resolution where one side wins for good. The Imperium will never fully reclaim the galaxy. Chaos will never fully consume it. The Tyranids will never devour everything, because there will always be something left to fight back. The Necrons will never impose their silent order, because the chaos of life is too resilient. This is the central, grimdark truth of Warhammer 40,000. It is not a story about winning. It is a documentary of an eternal stalemate, a snapshot of a galaxy locked in a perpetual struggle for existence. Every victory is temporary. Every hero is mortal. Every fortress is destined to become a tomb. But in that struggle, in that endless, brutal symphony, there is a dark and compelling grandeur. The scale is unimaginable. The stakes are ultimate. And the sound is unforgettable. It is the sound of 1,000,000 stories of defiance happening at every single moment. The lone guardsman making his last stand. The Inquisitor making an impossible choice. The chapter master leading a charge against overwhelming odds. These moments are the notes in the symphony. They may seem insignificant in the grand, cosmic scale of eternal war, but they are everything. They are the proof that even in the darkest of futures, there is still the will to fight, the will to believe, and the will to endure. The war is eternal because the will to survive is eternal. So, when you next look upon the vast, star-strewn canvas of the 41st Millennium, don't look for an ending. Instead, listen. Listen for the endless echo of faith, fury, and fire. For that is the only truth that remains. That is the sound of war eternal. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the grim darkness of the far future. If you found the echoes of the 41st Millennium compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more dives into this and other incredible universes. Let us know in the comments what part of this eternal symphony resonates most with you. Until next time, may the Emperor protect.